Hello there, world of tankers. Welcome to the channel. I'm your host, Blitz'S, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about what I consider to be the biggest problem for me when it comes to World of Tanks Blitz Reforged. We all have problems with it, right? Wargaming has announced some of the changes that they're going to be bringing into the game, and I'm happy about them. But at the same time, there's still certain things that we can all agree upon that we don't want coming into the future of the game. But there's a problem that I haven't heard anybody talk about, and I feel like it's my job, especially as a content creator, to bring this problem up. And that is the fact that the content that has been posted on World of Tanks Blitz for the last 10 years is going to be completely useless once Reforged drops. As we know, Reforged is planning on changing 90% of the game. While the gameplay itself may be similar between games, the actual statistics and way the game is organized is going to be completely different. And what that means is that a review I have made on XYZ will no longer be useful because Wargaming will have changed everything to that point. I've complained about this in the past when, for example, Wargaming decides to rework every tier 10 every 8 months. It's been a big complaint for me because when Wargaming decides, hey, let's rebalance all of tier 10, it means a review I made on the Type 71 2 years ago is kind of useless because the vehicle doesn't have AP premium at that time. It has 20 less damage per shot at that time. It was faster. It had different capabilities. And it's not the only tank. There are so many tanks that Wargaming has changed by just a ridiculous amount through the years. If you look at World of Tanks PC, the tanks themselves haven't really changed. It's just the equipment, right? World of Tanks PC had equipment 2.0. In Blitz, Wargaming decides to rework the tanks themselves every year. And because of that, it can make it very hard to make a review on a vehicle because you make one review and then Wargaming decides to rework the game 8 months later, changing every tier 10, even if that tier 10 itself didn't get changed, because every single one around it did. That's either going to negatively impact or positively impact that vehicle, right? You have to remember that. So, for example, something like the E5 didn't really get changed that much in the last major rebalance. But vehicles like the E6, vehicles like the VZ55, vehicles like the Type 71, and all the other heavies all got big ol' buffs. So now the E5, while it is still a very strong tank, isn't really played that much because you can just drive an autoloader at 2700 DPM like the VZ55. Why drive a VZ with 2700 DPM when you can drive an auto reloader like the Rhino and have even more mobility and solid gun depression and turret armor? But you get my point. The VZ55 I really think is a good example because a review I made on the VZ 2 years ago, it's running a single shot, and now the VZ is running a double shot. So it can be a little challenging to make reviews constantly over and over and over, and that is one of the major areas where at least my channel does have a big advantage over a lot of the other content creators on this game, is that I'm constantly keeping up to date with everything there is to know, making reviews on every single tank, making sure that you guys are well informed when changes do occur. But when Reforged gets released and we have commanders, and we have all these changes coming into the game, and it's not just commanders. You have to remember that Wargaming is A, removing Spall Liner, and all the other consumable, or not the consumables, but provisions. As of right now, Wargaming is removing provisions entirely from the game. Now, I'm not sure if this is because they think they cost too much or what the actual reasoning is, but they are removing all provisions, which means vehicles like the Grill, vehicles like the 4005, and other tanks that rely on Spall Liner to do well currently are no longer going to have that capability in the future. Not only that, but they are also then putting these provisions basically inside of the equipment tab, which is going to change your statistics there as well. Again, these are all changes which are going to affect the game. And these changes just happened so common. I mean, we had the massive equipment changes just a couple months ago, like 8 months ago. Wargaming decided to rework every single piece of equipment in the game, which obviously changed the way it played quite a bit there. And they're reworking the equipment again. They're changing this, they're changing that, they're making this do better, they're making this do worse. And it's just a lot. It's a lot. Anybody that wants to watch videos on a vehicle, the video will be almost entirely useless once Reforged gets released. Now, obviously, Reforged isn't proposed to be for another year, But when Reforged drops, new players will not have any content to watch from the past 8 to 10 years. Content creators like Bushka, who have put many videos out, already their videos are quite old and outdated because of the changes that have came to the game. But it's not just that, it's just content I've posted for the past 5 years, right? Any review I've made on a vehicle is going to be basically irrelevant due to the changes. And that sucks. It really does suck because now people are going to have to look for new content. And that's not a bad thing, right? I'm not going to complain that people have to look for new content because that means if somebody wants to see a tank review and I make a new review on it, it might actually get decent views. But the other problem is that if I keep my old reviews up, people are going to watch videos on a game that no longer technically exists when you think of it, right? So it's kind of this weird situation, and there's no way I'm going to go back and remove like 3,400 videos, because A, that's just an insane amount of effort, and B, they'll still get views, which A means monetization, but B, it's still good to leave some older videos up to catalog what the game was like in the past. But you can kind of see where things get a little bit tricky for me. I wish that Wargaming didn't want to change so much about Reforged, and they did it one update at a time. Instead of releasing all the changes at once, which they're planning to do, maybe they only release the commanders, and then, 4 months later, they release something else, like the equipment changes, and they ask us what we like about them. Instead, when you do all of this at once, what ends up happening is you give the player base so many different changes that they're not aware of, it just doesn't go well. It's like the map rotations. Every 5 months or, 6 months, Wargaming decides to change the maps that are in the game's rotation. And what ends up happening is that the maps that have been out of the game for the past 5 months, the people that don't really play it, that much apart from casually, just suck because they don't understand where they're going. They haven't played on these maps in so long, they didn't really understand them to begin with, and now you've made them forget exactly where the basic beginner positions they went to begin with were. It's why you need to leave all the maps in rotation so that players understand at least somewhat of where they're going. There's a lot of problems with the game, and I think this is one of the big ones for me because, as I said, it just makes a lot of the content and a lot of the videos that creators have posted for the last years of this game absolutely pointless, and I feel like that really sucks. But you guys can let me know your personal feelings, comments, and opinions down below. Is this something that matters to you, or is this something that you don't really care about? Definitely matters to me, and I hope that we can create a solution to this, but there really isn't one. It's something that I've complained about in the past, as I said about the massive rebalances of Tier 10. Every time Wargaming rebalanced, what, is this the third time they've rebalanced Tier 10? I think it is. I think it's the third time they've done it, and with the equipment changes, technically fourth. But since they've rebalanced Tier 10 3 times, it means that I have 3 different generations of videos that are entirely different on tank reviews, capabilities, and if you watch a video that is 2 years old of mine on a tank review, I mean, sure, the tank might play a little similar, but the IS-4, 3 years ago, had armor and 2,800 health. Now the vehicle doesn't have armor, it has mobility, and it doesn't even have close to the same hit points. It's very confusing, but let me know in the comments what you guys think. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye!